Hello everyone, welcome to Domain 7 video on the CISSP certification exam. This domain is going to cover questions on security operations, and while answering the questions we'll be making some explanations to enable you understand the concepts better. So we'll start off with question 1. What type of backup involves copying all data that has changed since the last full backup? A. Full backup. B. Incremental backup. C. Differential backup. D. Snapshots. Before we'll review the answer, we'll just give a brief explanation of the different types of backups that we have. So a full backup copies all the data in the system regardless of any initial backups that has been done. It is a complete snapshot of all the files and data at the time of the backup. For an incremental backup, it only copies the data that has changed since the last backup of any type. Each incremental backup is smaller and faster, but it requires a sequence of backups for a full restore. The differential backup copies all data that has changed since the last full backup. Unlike the incremental backup, the differential backup grows larger over time until the next full backup is performed. A snapshot is a type of backup that captures the state of a system at a specific point in time, and they are usually used in virtualization environments and may not fit the traditional definition of full, incremental, or differential backups. So in the case of this question, the correct answer is option C, the differential backup. It only copies all the data that has changed since the last full backup. Question 2. Which of the following security models is most likely to be used in a highly classified government agency where data confidentiality is of utmost importance? A. Brewer-Nash model. B. Bell-LaPadula model. C. Biba model. D. Clark-Wilson model. The answer we'll be going with here is option B, the Bell-LaPadula model. This model is used in highly classified government agencies where data confidentiality is of utmost importance. It enforces access controls based on a need-to-know principle, and it ensures that users can only access information at or below their security clearance level. So that's the Bell-LaPadula model. The other models listed focuses on integrity and may not provide the same level of data confidentiality that is needed in this scenario for a government agency. Question 3. Which of the following is not a common component of configuration management change control steps? A. Report change to management. B. Service level agreement approval. C. Tested and presented. D. Approval of the change. The answer we'll be going with here is option B. The service level agreement is related to agreements between the service providers and the customers regarding the level of service that will be provided. A configuration management change control step involves reporting the change to management, testing and presenting, and then the approval. So in this case, the service level agreement approval is not a component of the configuration management change control steps. So we'll be going with option B. Service level agreement approval is not a component of the configuration management change control steps. Question 4. In the context of disaster recovery planning, what is the most crucial aspect to consider when creating a recovery time objective? A. The geographical location of the disaster recovery sites. B. The criticality of business functions. C. The cost of implementing disaster recovery measures. D. The availability of backup data. If we look at all the options, They seem correct, however, we need to focus on the emphasis in the question. The emphasis is asking for the most crucial aspects to consider when creating a recovery time objective. So because of that, we'll be going with option B. The criticality of business functions is the most crucial aspect to consider when creating a recovery time objective. The recovery time objective is the maximum allowable downtime for a particular business function. So when determining the RTO, the criticality of business functions is the most important factor. Question 5. Which of the following refers to the expected amount of time it will take to get a device fixed and back into production after its failure? A. NTTR. B. Hot swap. C. SLA. D. NTBF. Now, the NTTR is a measure of the average time that is required to repair a device or a system and restore it to operational status after a failure. For a hot swap, it's the ability to replace or add components to a system without shutting down the system. SLA, we have explained before, is a formal agreement between a service provider and a customer, and it outlines the expected level of service. The mean time between failures is a measure of the average time between failures of a system or a component. So with respect to the question that is asked here, is asking for the expected amount of time it will take to get a device fixed and back into production after its failure. So we'll be going with option A, the mean time to repair. And on this next page, I've actually outlined the explanation where it shows that the mean time to repair is the measure of the average time required to repair a device and restore it to operational status after a failure. Question 6. Which of the following is the most important consideration when determining the severity of an incident in the context of security incident response? A. The number of affected systems. B. The level of media attention. C. The potential harm to the organization's reputation. D. The financial impact on the organization. For this, we'll be going with option D. The financial impact not only encompasses the immediate cost of mitigating the incident, it also has the potential long-term financial consequences like loss of revenue, regulatory fines, as well as legal liabilities. So the most important consideration when determining the severity of an incident is the financial impact on the organization. Question 7. Which of the following is the primary purpose of a security policy within an organization? A. To provide high-level guidance and direction for security efforts. B. To specify detailed technical configurations for security controls. C. To define specific incident response procedures. D. To outline the roles and responsibilities of security personnel. For this, we'll be going with option A. Security policies set the strategic framework for security, and it defines the organization's security objectives and establishes the overall security posture. So that's the primary purpose of a security policy within an organization. Question 8. Which of the following security principles emphasizes that security mechanisms should not rely on the secrecy of the design? A. Separation of duties. B. Open design. C. Least privilege. D. Defense in depth. For this, we'll be going with option B. The principle of open design states that the security of a system should not depend on the secrecy of its design or implementation. Instead, it should rely on the publicly known and scrutinized algorithms and mechanisms, which are then thoroughly tested and vetted. So with respect to the question asked, which security principle emphasizes that security mechanisms should not rely on the secrecy of the design? The other options do not apply to this question, and the only option that does apply is open design, option B. Question 9. RAID systems use several techniques to provide redundancy and performance. Which of the following activities divides and writes data over several drives? A. Stripping. B. Mirroring. C. Hot swapping. D. Parity. The activity that divides and writes data over several drives will be option A. Stripping is a technique that is used in RAID, where data is divided into blocks and each block is written to a separate drive in the array. This improves performance because multiple drives can read and write data simultaneously. The other options for mirroring, it's a read technique as well, but in this case, identical copies of data are stored on 2 or more drives. For hot swapping, it's the ability to replace or add drives to a RAID array without shutting down the system. While parity is a technique that is used in some RAID levels to provide fault tolerance. So in respect to the question asked, option A is the best option. Question 10. Which of the following is the most critical aspect of privacy by design? A. Regularly updating the organization's privacy policy. B. Appointing a data protection officer. C. Involving privacy experts from the inception of a project. D. Encrypting sensitive data at rest and in transit. The answer here is option C. Involving privacy experts from the inception of a project ensures that the privacy considerations are integrated into the design and the development process from the onset. This is done in order to identify and address any potential privacy issues in the early stages of the design. So, the fundamental principle of privacy by design is to integrate all the privacy considerations into the design and development of projects from the beginning. So this proactive approach will ensure that privacy is embedded into the technology, business practices, and operations of the business. Question 11. The most critical factor to consider when selecting a vendor in the context of information security is A. Business continuity. B. Geographic location. C. Vendor reputation. D. Data classification. The most critical factor to consider when selecting a vendor in the context of information security would be data classification, option D. Data classification helps the organizations to identify and categorize sensitive information, and this will ensure that the appropriate security measures are applied. Question 12. Hepzibah wants to test a program she suspects may contain malware. What technology can she use to isolate the program while it runs? A. Clipping. B. Process isolation. C. Sandboxing. D. ASLR. Going through the options, clipping is not a term that is related to isolating programs, so that is not the correct answer. Process isolation involves keeping processes separate to prevent them from interfering with each other. Now, while it will provide some level of containment, it is not specifically designed for safely running and testing potentially malicious software. Sandboxing, on the other hand, is a security mechanism used for running untrusted programs in a controlled environment. ASLR, Address Space Layout Randomization, is a security technique that is used to prevent the exploitation of memory corruption vulnerabilities, and it does this by randomizing memory addresses that is used by the system processes. So based on these explanations, the best technology that will be used to isolate the program while it runs is option C, sandboxing. Sandboxing isolates the program from the rest of the system in order to prevent it from causing harm. This makes it ideal for testing programs that are suspected of containing malware. So, we'll be going with this option. Question 13. Rahul suspects that someone is using malicious software to steal computing cycles from his company. Which of the following security tools will be in the best position to detect this type of incidents? A. Data loss prevention. B. Firewall. C. NIDS. D. HIDS. A data loss prevention system is designed to prevent data breaches by monitoring and controlling data transfers. It only focuses on protecting sensitive data from unauthorized access or exfiltration. Firewall controls the incoming and outgoing network traffic based on the predetermined security rules. The NIDS, Network-Based Intrusion Detection System, monitors network traffic for suspicious activity. While it can detect certain types of malicious activity on the network, it may not be able to effectively detect the misuse of computing resources on individual hosts. On the other hand, HIDS, or Host-Based Intrusion System, monitors the activities and state of individual hosts for signs of suspicious activity. So the best security tool that will be used to detect this type of incidents in this scenario will be option D, the Host-Based Intrusion System. It monitors the activities and state of individual hosts for signs of suspicious activity. So it can detect resource usage, changes to system files, unusual processes or configurations that might indicate the presence of malicious software stealing the computing cycles. This makes it the most suitable tool for detecting incidents involving the misuse of computer resources on individual systems. Question 14. What is it called when an attack that violates a security organization's security policy has taken place? A. Security incident. B. Security event. C. Security occurrence. D. Security intrusion. The answer here is option A. A security incident is an event that results in a violation of an organization's security policies, and this can lead to potential or actual harm to information assets. A security event is just any observable occurrence in a system or network. Now, not all security events are incidents. Some may be benign or routine activities, and it does not result in a policy violation. A security occurrence is not usually used in the context of security, so it does not have a specific definition that distinguishes it from events or incidents. A security intrusion refers to unauthorized access to a system or a network. So, in the case of this question, it asks what is it called when an attack that violates a security organization's security policy has taken place? It will be option A, the security incidents. Question 15. What are the steps in chronological order of a forensic investigation? A. Analyzing the results, reporting the results of the analysis, assessing and extracting relevant data, identifying, labeling, and recording. B. Reporting the results of the analysis, analyzing the results, assessing and extracting relevant data, identifying, labeling, and recording. C. Identifying, labeling, and recording, assessing and extracting relevant data, analyzing the results, reporting the results of the analysis. D. Assessing and extracting relevant data, identifying, labeling, and recording, analyzing the results, reporting the results of the analysis. For this, The correct steps for a forensic investigation is option C. The steps usually follow this sequence. First, the evidence is identified and preserved using labeling, and then it is documented and kept in a safe location. The second step is assessing and extracting relevant data. So, relevant data is carefully extracted and secured. The second step is carefully extracting and securing the relevant data from the collected evidence. The third step is analyzing the results, and this is done by conducting a thorough analysis of the extracted data to find the relevant information that can help in understanding the incidents. The last step is reporting the results of the analysis. So, this is done by compiling the findings into a formal report that details the investigative process, analysis, and conclusion. So, this is the chronological steps in a forensic investigation. Question 16. What is the purpose of a honeypot in network security? A. To provide an additional layer of authentication. B. To lure attackers away from critical systems. C. To store encryption keys. D. To monitor internal user activities. First of all, we need to understand what a honeypot is. A honeypot is a decoy system that is set up to attract potential attackers. So, by luring the attackers to interact with the honeypot, the security teams can monitor their behavior as well as keeping them away from critical systems. So, we'll be going with option B. When the attackers are lured to interact with the honeypots, the security teams can monitor their behavior, study their tactics, and gather valuable information about their methods without risking the real production system. So, the honeypot lures the attackers away from critical systems. Question 17. In the context of incident response, what does the term eradication refer to? A. Isolating affected systems. B. Identifying the root cause of the incident. C. Removing malware or other malicious code from affected systems. D. Recovering systems to their normal operations. The answer here is option D. Eradication refers to the action of removing malware or other malicious code from affected systems during incident response in order to mitigate or reduce the impact of the incident. Question 18. Which of the following is not a typical phase in the incident response process? A. Budgeting. B. Preparation. C. Detection and analysis. D. Eradication. When we look at the options here, budgeting is definitely not a part of the incident response process. In the incident response process, we have preparation, we have detection and analysis. We also have eradication as well as other steps in the incident response. So, budgeting is not a phase in the incident response process. The summary of steps for an incident response process are preparation, identification, containment, eradication, recovery, and lessons learned. So, budgeting is not a phase in the incident response process. Question 19. What type of attack is mitigated by implementing strong physical security controls? A. Phishing. B. Man in the middle. C. Tailgating. D. SQL injection. A phishing attack involves tricking individuals into providing sensitive information through deceptive emails or websites. So this has nothing to do with physical security measures. Rather, phishing can be mitigated using technical controls. The man-in-the-middle attack involves intercepting and altering communication between two parties. So this has nothing to do with the physical security controls. Tailgating happens when an unauthorized person follows an authorized person into a secured area without proper credentials. This is definitely a physical security attack, and to mitigate this, strong physical security controls have to be implemented. The last option, the SQL injection, is a code injection technique that is used to attack databases by inserting malicious SQL statements into an input field. So, based on the question, the type of attack that will be mitigated by implementing strong physical security controls is option C, tailgating. Question 20. Which of the following is an example of a logical access control? A. Security guards. B. Password policies. C. Biometric scanners. D. Surveillance cameras. The answer here is option B. Security guards, biometric scanners, and surveillance cameras are physical access controls. For this question, an example of a logical access control is the password policy. It regulates how passwords are created, used, and managed to ensure that only authorized users can access information systems. This brings us to the end of the Domain 7 video. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to watch new videos. I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you for watching.